Hey guys, and welcome back. I realized in my previous video I didn't actually introduce myself. So, hello, I'm Tess. I live in Australia, and I'm a bit of a book nerd, like most people. So yeah, I guess I just decided to try and make a couple of videos to kind of like join in on all the fun that everyone's having. So anyway, moving on. So today I'm actually going to be doing my August TBR list. So I am filming this a week into August, which I probably shouldn't have done. I probably should have filmed it a bit earlier, but you live and you learn, so we'll see how we go. But yes, so for August, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 6 books on my TBR. I have 5 of the physicals here right now, and the other one will be done, is on Audible. This is not sponsored, by the way. I guess I'll start with that one actually. So the first book, which I'll pop up here, that I'm reading this month is I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Oh, what a title, right? So I don't have the physical, but I used one of my credits on Audible when I was subscribed. Life is expensive right now, so I just buy the books that I want if I feel like it. I used one of my credits to get the book on Audible, and I started listening to it, and she does not hold back. She kind of drives straight in that first chapter. So I got a little bit overwhelmed, if I'm going to be honest, and decided, you know what, maybe, oh, I got something in my eye. I decided, you know what, maybe I'll wait until I'm in a slightly better mental headspace before reading this entire thing, or listening along, whatever you feel like. Anyway, I'm feeling much better now. So yes, that'll be the first book on my TBR. The second book on my TBR, I have actually already read. I've completed it. So if you watched one of my previous videos, you'll know that I was reading The Fellowship of the Ring, the first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I finished that in July, in literally just a couple of days. And I have also been reading it and listening along. I don't actually listen to many audiobooks, like, I've got to be honest, but I was listening along to Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum in the films, which I think I've mentioned him in like every video now. I promise this isn't an obsession. I just love his voice. I think he's a brilliant narrator. Anyway, so I've been listening along to that. I listened to it on like 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed, which actually I know it's not even that fast, because he's like really takes his time with like bringing out voices and the characters and like setting the scene and stuff. So I feel like that works really well as a speed for like my brain, especially like the little ADHD I've got going on. Little sounds patronizing, the ADHD that's happening. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So I was listening to that, I was reading along to it, and I adored it. So I have actually been reading The Two Towers, which I also love and also adore. And oh my god, can we just take a moment for these covers? Look at that. Oh my god, we have Sheila up on the front, there's Frodo running. This is Orthanc. This is Isengard. Phenomenal. Anyway, so we've been reading along with this, and I actually finished it again within 2-3 days. I think it was about 3. Oh no, that is a lie. I started reading it in July, put it down because I was waiting for this specific copy to get here. This copy arrived, picked up the copy, and finished more than half the book in about a day and a bit. I finished the last chapter only a couple of days ago in the morning. And I've been loving it, but again, I've already finished it, but it wasn't my August TBR, so I wanted to put it in anyway. This one, however, leads really nicely into my next book on my TBR, which is, as I'm sure you can all guess, The Return of the King, the final installment in our Lord of the Rings trilogy. And oh my god, I am terrified to finish this book. I actually started reading it already, and I didn't even finish the first chapter. I love these books. My dad read them to me when I was younger. There's a lot of fun memories with them, and I've been reading them for the first time as an adult, and like I've fallen in love, and I'm terrified to finish it. There's something like bittersweet about loving a series so much and then picking up the final book and realizing this is the end. And it is the end. Tolkien is no longer alive. He's not releasing anything else for Lord of the Rings. Yes, we have other books in the universe. We have the Silmarillion. We have The Hobbit. There's a lot of other stories that have also been published since he's passed. The Fall of Gondolin and The Fall of Numenor, both of which I have those books as well I really want to read. But like, it's the Lord of the Rings, and I guess I'm a bit worried, obviously, about finishing it because I really enjoyed my time with it. But I've kind of got to suck it up and just start. I'm so excited. My memories from when I was a kid, I'm pretty sure The Return of the King was my favourite book as well, and even just already halfway through the first chapter, I've like fallen in love. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. I love it. I love writing. I love Tolkien as an author, so I'm very excited. But also, look at this cover as well. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Anyway, so that is my third book on my TBR list. So my final fantasy book on this list is actually one that I have already read before, but for a little bit of context, I struggle quite a lot with reading a book from a series and then going off and reading like multiple different books and then coming back to the series, especially if I'm reading other fantasy books in between and those fantasy books aren't standalones. I can't do it. It's too overwhelming for my brain. I get sucked into too many universes. It just doesn't work for me, which is fine. So what I've been doing for the last couple of years is I choose a series, I'll read the entire series before I move on to a different book, before I move on to a different fantasy book specifically. And as you can tell, I have to finish this one, which means my fantasy series, my chosen fantasy series for this year will be over, or this month. So my follow-up will be Assassin's Apprentice. Oh my god, I am so excited to read this again. I actually read this a few years ago by Robin Hobb, but I did what I usually do, which is not pick up the sequel because I couldn't find it. And I didn't bother ordering it online because I was a little bit of a snob back then and refused to buy books that weren't from independent bookstores, which, whatever. And so I didn't end up reading the sequel, and I really, really want to read it. And I've heard so many good things, and I've loved her writing. I loved this first book. I really thought it was fantastic. I thought Fitz was a beautiful character. So obviously, now that I've bought the entire first trilogy, the Farseer trilogy, this will be my next fantasy series. So this is the fourth book on my August TBR and the final fantasy book on this list. Now, with all my fantasy out of the way, so you can probably tell I'm a bit more of a fantasy reader, I have two other books. So the first one was recommended to me by my little sister. She's never steered me wrong before, so I always take her advice. And it is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Now I know I probably butchered that name and I do apologize. Look how beautiful this is. So this story is, I didn't bother explaining the other ones because I think they're pretty well known. But anyway, so this is kind of like there's like a little basement cafe in Tokyo, and in that cafe it kind of gives you the ability to go back in time. I don't know how far back. And there's obviously like rules that apply to it. So I thought that was a really interesting concept. I do not enjoy time travel or going back to the past in novels. I never have. I don't know if I ever will. However, my little sister has never steered me wrong with a book recommendation or a game recommendation or any sort of recommendation before, and I do trust her judgment. So I picked it up because it was cheap, and I found it for cheap, and I found the entire series for cheap. So I picked them all up at her suggestion, started reading it, and I have already fallen in love, and I'm like 2 chapters in, which is insane. It's quite a short book, so like I'll finish this by tomorrow, I'm assuming, tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, I'm very excited for it. And the 4th book in the series, the final book, comes out. Oh, what's it called? I don't remember what the 4th book is called, but the 4th book comes out in September as well. So I do kind of want to read the first 3 and get them out of the way and like read that final book and kind of wrap it up, especially because I'm already enjoying this so much. And honestly, I always have high expectations for anything my little sister recommends. So that is my 5th book on my TBR. My final book is one I've had for 10 months now. Yes, I know the exact amount of time I've had it because it's been on my list for ages. It took me forever to find it at a store. I finally bought it and I didn't bother starting to read it, and I'm annoyed at myself. But it is A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. So this is a really interesting book from everything that I've seen. So we follow 2 point of views. We follow Ruth and we follow Now. I think that's how you say her name. So Now is 16, she lives in Tokyo, she hates her life and she wants to end it all. Trigger warning. And she has a diary which she writes in, so she kind of records her daily life and like what's happening with her. Ruth, on the other hand, lives on the other side of the world. And one day a lunchbox washes up near her, she picks it up, and inside she finds a diary, obviously Now's. So we kind of get to read, from my understanding, from Now's point of view what she's going through, and then we read it from Ruth's point of view as she reads Now's story, and we kind of like have to try to figure out like what's happened, what like what was the conclusion? What did Now end up doing? What's happening? So I'm actually really excited to read this. It's a really cute copy too. I love a floppy paperback. The fact that that's just, I can read that so easy, you know what I mean? I tried really hard not to read it. Look in there, accidentally spoil something for myself. I heard mixed things. I've heard some people adored it. I've heard some people were kind of a bit like meh about it, but I'm excited either way. So that is the last book on my TBR list. If I'm being completely honest, I know I'm gonna love Return of the King. I've already finished The Two Towers. I love Tolkien. That's not a worry. I know that I love Robin Hobb's writings, but I haven't read her in quite a while, so I'm really excited to jump back into that. So like out of the books on my TBR, I know 3 of them are going to be incredible already. The fact that Jeanette McCurdy's novel or biography already like made me feel heartbroken, I know is probably going to tear me apart. And these 2, I'm just excited for something a little bit different than my usual fantasy biography vibe. So I'm excited. But yeah, so Two Towers, Return of the King, Assassin's Apprentice, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I'm Glad My Mom Died, and A Tale of the Time Being is everything on my August TBR. Thanks guys.